The ideas and content expressed on this show are our own and do not represent the views or opinions of any previous or current employers. Today's episode is actually part one of two from a construction manager roundtable that we hosted at Vantage Brewery. They're a lot of fun. We get some great guys come out, great content. We love doing them. We're going to keep doing them. Anyway, this one went kind of long, so I split it up into two 25-minute sessions. I think you're going to find there's tons of information in here. In the first session, we ask, what is it you wanted to know when you first started that you didn't? What could you have benefited from? What piece of advice or knowledge could you have benefited from when you first started in construction? And then in the second half, we talk about how we deal with new technologies in construction. Not software technologies, but building technologies. New ways to wrap a house or new roofing systems, things like that. Anyway, as always, check out TrueWork. They are awesome. They provide the awesome products for the industrial athlete. You can get a discount on your first order when you use promo code CMP15. You've heard Jason and I talk about TrueWork all the time. Their gear is awesome. I'm constantly wearing it. Their pants, their shorts, their shirts, especially their shorts, even in the winter. When I'm working on a project inside, I get hot, I wear their shorts. They're awesome. Check them out. Go to truework.com. You're going to love their gear. You're going to want to wear it constantly, whether you're at work or not. It's that good. IsoTunes, fantastic products. Your safety toolbox is not complete without IsoTunes. Their Bluetooth earbuds and headphones for every occasion, including their newly released the IsoTunes Link are awesome. They are earmuffs done right. They are their first Bluetooth earmuff. IsoTune Link is perfect for the worker who prefers over-ear hearing protection, but refuses to compromise their listening experience. I'm telling you right now, the earmuffs are badass. I have a pair. I wear them. I use that chainsaw quite a bit when I'm cutting wood. Always wearing them because I don't want to be any more deaf than I already am after 20 years of construction and not protecting my ears and my hearing. Now I have a solution. I can protect my hearing, I can listen to music, I can talk on the phone, and I can deaden all the noise going on around me. Anyway, as always, check out buildertactics.com. Like I said, greatest website in the existence of the internet. You're going to love it. Tons of information on there. You can download the manual. There will be a second book added here shortly called Building Zen, How to Find Inner Peace While Losing Your Shit in the Middle of the Street. It's a book on stress and how to come back to center. That'll be released soon. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the show. There's about 25 minutes in this one, and then part two will be released probably in about a week. Thanks so much. See ya. All right, welcome back to the Construction Manager Podcast. Jason, it's been a while, man. I feel like we haven't gone out in feels like a month.
Yeah, I've just been pretty lazy here lately. I've just been hanging around the house, not doing much of anything.
Yeah, that's the new normal,
Nothing
man.
really happening. This year's been pretty boring and slow. Everything's gone really smooth and easy. So,
like Zoom calls with a collared shirt and your boxer shorts, man. That's the way to do it. That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. No, I'm driving all over the state to try to keep things moving, and it's not easy, and it's great. Everything's been great.
Oh, not me. I just sit at home and do nothing. I drink a lot. I do a lot of day drinking. Should I edit that out?
Day drinking part? I mean, probably.
Like they don't know already.
At some point, are we going to talk about your career?
What's your slogan? You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning?
That's written on,
No.
That's written on the bathroom wall of my trailer.
Alcoholics drink every day. That's why I only drink every night.
Yeah, some guys got to sleep.
All right, so in case it's not obvious as a heart attack, we're doing another CM roundtable. So you want to just go around the room, just introduce ourselves?
Sure.
Or do you want me to do everybody?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Damien.
I don't think we need to introduce us like it's our show.
Oh, everybody knows who you guys are. I got my brother sitting here. They're not going to
friggin' show is.
Jake might say something stupid. People are going to be like, what did Damien just say? That sounded so dumb.
Well,
I'm like, I don't know.
Well,
all right, so we got Jake Edwards.
Yeah.
We got Dennis Sullivan.
Hello.
We got Todd Megan. And we got Mitch Elmore. Boom. We got Todd back on the show, though. I hope he brings it, man.
I gotta be honest. It was a stellar performance out of him last time.
Keep that cup filled.
Yeah, we talked about it last time. Todd brought it. I hope he doesn't shit the bed this time.
Very good questions and stuff. I feel like he was a podcast skeptic toward the beginning of this.
I feel like he's a closet pro, man.
Yeah.
He came out with some good content. I was super impressed. I went to edit all the stuff, and I was like, oh wait, that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound shocked, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, he's a smart guy. All right, so let's.
Can we back up just a second? You guys were talking about your Zoom calls and wearing shirts and boxer shorts. I think Zooms would be better if everybody could have a Jeffrey Tubin on there with them.
Dennis gets it. Dennis gets me. Wow.
We've heard you tell that uncomfortable story in front of people before.
Yeah, that's not. This is a family show.
This is
sir.
a family show.
Yeah.
Sorry. No Tubin comments.
All right, so today we got a couple different things we're going to talk about, but let's jump right into the first topic, and that is, things that you wish you had known when you first got into construction that you know now but you didn't know then. And I'll start off with a story. My first 2 weeks in construction, right? So I started my professional career in the Navy, I guess, but after that I got into IT. And I was used to when subcontractors showed up, they worked until they were finished, even if it meant working all night into the next day because the network would go down if they didn't. So I had a tile crew show up one day, and everybody knows tile is
They didn't get it all done?
well. So I screamed at them. So they showed up and they started laying the
That
tile.
motivated them.
All of this is surprising.
And at the end of the day, they're packing up, not done. All they had done was the floors, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" And they were like, "We're leaving. We'll be back tomorrow." And I was like, "F you! Get back in that house and finish your tile." And I'm screaming at
So we
them.
have families? This is public?
The tile
People
guys are
act
like,
this?
oh, another construction manager that doesn't understand our work.
Yeah. So then, I hate to say it, I don't know, Jake, if you remember this, because we were both working for the same company at the time.
Was it the gang members?
No, that was something else we're talking about.
That's another time you almost got killed on a
Wait,
job site.
so Jake's there and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "These MFers are leaving the job. They're not finished." And he's like, "Well, no, they're coming back tomorrow, and they'll be
They're on
back
the
the
schedule
next day."
3 days, bro. Did
Yeah,
you look at
and
the
I was
schedule?
like, "Oh." And so the one thing that I didn't know is I didn't know, sequencing. I didn't know the duration times. I really, honestly, I didn't know shit about construction when I got into it. But the thing that I wish I had known was how long every task took when people came out, because I was constantly giving people a hard time about not finishing their work in a day when it was like a 2, 3, or 4 day process.
When you first started, did somebody tell you
No.
how your schedule is
No.
supposed to look? That really honestly didn't happen for me either. I feel like I remember writing out schedules and asking over my shoulder to the guy next to me, how long do they take for tile?
You're like, "I'm going to have this
He's
house
like-
built in a week. This is easy. Look at all this extra space I have on the
According to this
calendar."
notebook paper, I think I should be done in 12 days.
Go ahead and lock for 1 week.
So let's go. So Jason, why don't you? What do you wish you had known when you first got into construction?
I don't know. I feel like the first thing that I did was I wanted to be tenacious, and I wanted to get out there and prove that I was ready to be on my own right away. I wanted to try to gather up the tasks and just go out there and execute it, and I didn't want to ask questions like I should have.
Oof.
I felt like that was something that I came out of the Army. This is a similar thing between you and me, I think. Like come out feeling like you know everything already, when in truth you don't. You should never act like that at any point in your career, I don't think, because you're always learning stuff all the time. You might have good answers now, but there's always better answers around the corner.
You gotta fake it till you make it, man.
Oh, faking it to no, that part I did correctly. Faking it was. I'm good at that. I can do it. You guys are all fooled, right? Or do you on to me?
Not a
Still,
chance.
what's it
We
been?
see right through you.
What's it been? 20 years?
All right. Well,
right.
that was a weak one. Why don't you guys give us some good stuff? I'm sure Jake has something where there's fingers lopped off or something.
No, I wish I would have known when I started
Talking to that
actually on an actual construction site. My first construction job was with a TAD job. It was awesome. It was up at Fort Knox. It was amazing. But when I actually got in a battalion and I was doing construction, because unlike you guys, I learned the hard way in the Navy, and I was digging French
Unlike these
drains.
powder puffs.
I learned in the civilian world. We didn't carry insurance. I was digging French drains by hand with a shovel in Guam.
Uphill, both ways.
Nah, it was 100 degrees. I sweat
100
so
degrees
bad.
and snowing.
I had to change my boots at lunch.
Boots?
I
You had
would
boots?
Sweat.
You got boots?
But, it wasn't until I got out later, because when you're in the Navy and you're doing construction, you never see the products. Like, you build them and you can see them, and then you leave, and chances are you'll never see them again. But in the civilian world, when you build a product, a house, a school, a library, whatever, you can see it because you live in that area. So you can drive by and you can see the fruits of your labor. And when you have kids, you can drive me. Daddy built that, or whatever. So it's very rewarding.
This story is going to put me to sleep. It doesn't get to the point.
I feel your kids.
I don't know why I keep
when
coming
you point
here.
that stuff out to your
If
kids.
it wasn't for the beer, I wouldn't show up. Just saying.
We joke a lot about how our kids don't give a shit what we built in our life.
Is
They're like,
there-
"Hey, we built that.
Well, they
over there,"
do.
and
When
they're
they're
like,
when they're
don't
toddlers,
even look up from their phone.
when they're toddlers, they
Whatever.
love it, and when they're teenagers, they're like,
Is there
whatever.
a shorter version of this story? I'm just saying there's 6 of us here. That's all.
Yeah, your story began with, I didn't know what I was doing. And this sub told me off.
It's true.
All right. Anyway, so go ahead.
So that's it. I just wish I had known. I would have taken it much more seriously when I was going through schools and learning different techniques in different Navy schools. I wish I'd have known how rewarding it would be later in life, because I definitely would have been a better student.
How old were you?
I was 20.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, I was 20 and
Every
stupid.
single one of us was an idiot when we were 20.
Yeah. I was too busy,
Todd,
drinking
you
and
weren't?
chasing tail.
Yeah, you were.
Yes, he
You're an
was.
idiot.
I can see it on his face.
Todd's like, I was earning my master's degree, you idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Dennis, what do you got?
Well, outside of the obvious of knowing where the Netflix and Redbox stocks would be, stuff like that at this point,
I mean, that's a hell of
Vegas,
a good point.
baby.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
he's like, as far as construction experience, I wouldn't need any if
Yeah.
I'd have made a couple of good stock purchases.
I don't know. It's construction. Something I kind of fell into. It wasn't something I always wanted to get into. I was interested in, but I thought I'd be more on the mortgage end. But I really,
Really?
yeah.
You're such a craftsman, though.
I was
I
going to
know.
say, you're totally a construction type guy. Mind and all the stuff
Yeah.
you do personally.
I mean, I came from a family of businessmen, and I just kind of went down that line. And it wasn't until late into college that I got in, or after college that I got into construction, and I was just like,
You're like, wow, this sucks. I'm going to keep doing it.
no, it was just something I enjoyed, and so I really wish, for me, I would have known this is the career path I wanted, and kind of started
Oh, that's a good one.
in college younger, and thinking, not knowing there was as much of a career in construction as there is, I would have probably shifted my focus in schooling a little bit to architecture or construction management or something, and kind of had a leg up versus starting at the bottom after college and almost feeling overqualified to be an assistant on a construction site out of college, which turned out to be a really good thing. So
True.
It's funny, when I was taking construction courses in school, I would argue with, believe it or not, I'd argue with all my professors.
Oh, wow.
I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about.
So
Teachers
Total
teach.
surprise, Jake.
Yeah.
Jake was like in the Navy when I was working 100-degree heat in the snow.
Perhaps you've heard of Guam.
Yeah. You're digging a trench by hand and with a shovel.
Yeah.
You know I went to Africa. Anyway, Todd, what do you got?
So I remember the first day I worked with the company I'm at now, and didn't know a thing, right? I mean, I knew some stuff. I went to architecture school, watched a bunch of construction shows, but as far as actual construction of homes, didn't know anything. And I know one mistake I made, which is kind of more funny, but I remember getting ready, going to Home Depot, and I bought the biggest 30-foot Fat Max tape measure because I'm ready to go, man.
Hold your pants down.
Within like 2 hours, I'm like, what a mistake that was. Let's
Yeah.
throw that thing in the car. I'm going to go buy a 10-footer.
Yeah.
Because that's really all I measured anyway.
Hell yeah. That's like carrying a dumbbell around on your belt.
It really is.
But I would say the thing I wish I knew, I didn't use it a lot early in my career, but I use it a lot now and have for the past 15 years, is making sure you hire the right people, and that's both internally and your your subcontractors. Hire the best people that you can.
Yeah.
We went through times where we were just hiring bodies off the street, and you're just going to make a mistake.
Easy. That's how I got it.
Me too.
It's so funny you say that. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine today that is in construction. He does fireproofing, and he was telling me that he started this non-medical testing business. And I'm like, why did you do that? And he was like, I am so tired of being the lowest bidder, having to be on call 100% of the time and perform the highest quality work as well. He's like, lowest bidder, always on call, highest quality work. Does not make sense. And I'm like, I get it, buddy. And he was, I was like, but listen.
Damien's like, I get it, buddy, but are you going to finish today?
I was like, listen.
This is a perfect segue into
tough
hear
shit.
what Mitch has to say. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
It really is.
So, Mitch, what's it like being the lowest bidder?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So I guess for me, it's two things. First, back then, I wish I knew the importance of really knowing your scope of work word for word. There's nothing like going into a house and getting into a debate or argument with the CM, thinking you're right, going back and checking your scope and finding out you were dead wrong.
I love it. I'm so glad that happens to you.
It doesn't anymore.
I will tell you
It
what.
used to happen to him, but it doesn't anymore because unfortunately he's pretty damn good at this.
Yeah, Mitch is very good at this because I'll call up purchasing and I'll start bitching, and they'll be like, "Ah, Mitch said the exact same thing." I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Damn right he
And
did.
you know what? That same thing goes for being a young construction manager or project manager or anybody that's building stuff. Like knowing what is included, knowing what to expect, and maybe that's tolerances or the dollar amount, or it could be various parts of your job, but like understanding what's expected. Like it's really easy to bark orders. It's easy to get called out barking orders, and you're the one who's wrong. That happened to me plenty of times. I'm sure
Oh my
it happened to all
God,
of you.
definitely. Me too.
Right.
Yep.
But I mean, it's on both sides. We don't want to argue. You don't want to argue. We'd like you to be agreed for what's the work, and we could just connect those dots.
I don't
Call
know,
it 2
man.
days work, and hopefully you'll get it done by the third
I don't
day.
know. I like to argue. I like to argue sometimes.
But I think it's one thing that the superintendents need to know all the scopes too, and a lot of them don't. So,
That's what I mean.
You know, if a listener is working for a company that doesn't give the scopes to the construction managers or the superintendents, whatever you call them, they need to. And if you're a super that doesn't have them, you need to ask your boss for it.
Amen.
There's no way you can perform at a high rate.
The best line
without
from
it.
a superintendent is, "Well, that's what I did on my last job."
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like,
We've
oh,
always-
well, that's all we do, sir.
Well, you know what? That's
nailed it.
that's a great point, because had somebody sat me down when I first started construction and said, "Here are the scopes of work. Read them first," I would have avoided 75% of the conflicts
Right.
I had
Or
with
arguments or
my
anything.
my vendors.
Come on.
Well, I do like to argue, so I would have been like, "You're right, but you know what? Let's fight about it anyway."
In that scope should be the duration that you didn't know too, right? So
100%.
along with
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. And I would have known,
Duration.
hey, you know what?
That's a good. That's an important part of the scope. Probably the most important part of the scope. You're going to base everybody else's paycheck on whether you can get it done in the amount of time you're allotted.
Yeah.
That is my biggest pet peeve with
What?
young supers or CMs, whatever you want to call them, where they start barking orders.
Hold on, let's.
One of my biggest pet peeves
I don't do that, sir.
is CMs that
Dance and have fun.
don't understand the scope of work, or they don't understand what it actually takes to do the work. Kind of like the example that you gave. You're like, "Were you leaving?" Well, you know, I can't set the floor tile, the wall tiling grout in one day,
It
sir.
says here in my contract I'm allowed to have dinner with my family.
Right. It says I'm allowed to have kids.
Oh, you have no idea how many CMs have no clue how long it takes to do drywall.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, it'll be taped and sanded in 3 days, right? Yep.
Yep.
Sure will.
Exactly right.
Sure, what, you got heat in that house? Okay.
And then be mad at you when you hook up or move a heater, right?
Yep.
We're notorious for that too. Like, how could you have done this? He's like, dude, like,
you
weren't
didn't.
answering the phone. I
Yeah.
don't know what else to do.
And it's very frequently that I get the question like, oh, it's only 10 boards. You can do that in 3 days. I'm like, it still takes the same amount of time to dry.
You're like, do you understand moisture?
Yeah, I know. Perhaps you've heard of it.
Perhaps
So
you've
that's
heard of water.
probably that's probably a good takeaway for that. For that is, you know, if you're new to construction, probably one of the smartest things you can do is get a hold of the scopes. Like Todd was saying, read them. If you have questions about them, ask the trades. What the hell does this mean? What is mortar?
Right.
What is heat for drywall? Whatever.
Right.
What's
So
a
that you-
keyhole saw?
And that's one thing. Jake,
What's a what?
A keyhole saw.
There's one thing that Jake preaches all the time is to talk to the tradesmen. Ask them what they're doing and why they're doing it. If
Yeah.
you don't know,
Just
it's
be a
okay
person.
to ask them.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a person.
You know, you don't have to be Mr. Tough Guy. Like, oh, I know what's going on. Just ask
Yeah.
them. I wish I had done more of that. Like, why are you using that size trowel? What's the reason for that?
Dude, I once took a hammer. I had a tile guy tell me that the wall was a little bit out of square, and I was like, "Is it?" And I took a hammer and I beat holes in the wall, and I was like, "How about now?" And I think the guy was so afraid, he was like, I'll make it work. And I was like, you're damn right you will.
Wow.
That's some mafia shit.
You should write a book about construction management.
But you know what that is? I was
Or maybe like host a podcast about it.
Yeah,
I was-
God, how are we putting out this content?
I was
This is the
super young.
brainchild?
Dude, I can tell you some stories about some of the dumb stuff I've done.
my
But
God, I love it.
you know, I was super young and trying to lead with just intimidation
With a fucking hammer.
instead of
Damien set a record for most out of plumb house. I don't know if you know that or not. They're scared to fix it.
I was trying to lead without the knowledge. I was just trying to lead by intimidation and like get it done instead of actually educating myself to learn how to do the work.
Right.
And had I just said, why is that a problem for you? He would have said, because this tile's going to look like complete shit. And that would have been the end of it. Instead, I'm sure he was like, I guess I'm fixing the wall now.
He's calling his girlfriend. He's like, man, this dude is nuts. I
Yeah.
told him the wall was out of plumb. He started smashing it with a hammer, and then he stormed out.
I don't think he knew that wouldn't fix it.
to be clear, I was hitting the stud, but it doesn't matter.
yeah.
The problem was not solved. Anyway.
Damien's like, if I hit it hard enough, it will straighten up.
Yeah, exactly.
I once threw a dude's tools out of a second-story window.
And that's how we met.
Wow.
I was like, I don't care, Mitch. All right. I'm just kidding. Not really, but anyway.
I got one for you. Taking it back to like an actual serious note, somewhat. You know how like you reach a point where you realize that you start to connect the dots from multiple different things. So we talked about like your schedule and your duration and understanding that, and then your scope of work and what that means and how long it takes and what's signed up in the contract. What's funny?
I just think I actually threw a dude's tool out of a second-story window.
Damien, no one here doubted that.
I was
just tell the story.
Like, it was a long time ago. It was
Probably
yesterday.
the most believable thing you've said all day.
I was just thinking how immature that was, and thank God I don't behave like that anymore.
Or the guy
That's
didn't
all.
throw you out of the second story window.
Yeah. I was pretty aggressive, 20-something-year-old. It was a long time
It's
ago.
amazing
Anyway.
that somebody put 20-something-year-old any of us in charge of anything.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. I mean, when you think about it. Yeah, sorry.
No, I can't go back to. I mean, it was like I was trying to be like somewhat smart and like on topic, and Damien had to go.
You guys go ahead and have a side conversation. It's fine.
See, this is.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jason. Floor's yours.
we're talking about building dreams.
One time when I was an assistant construction manager, we had this assistant project manager who was like outranked me by 2 steps, I guess, that I just did not like. He's this guy from Michigan, and I challenged him to a fist fight in the basement.
Awesome. I know who you're talking
And
about.
me and Cruz went out there and waited for him, and he never showed up. I was ready to kick his ass, too. Nope.
Oh, all right.
There's no way you would know that guy.
Okay.
So we all reach a point where we've been given these like tools to use. Hey, go check your takeoff, and when the lumber gets here, check it in, right? Okay, here is like a lumber budget later. Okay, make sure that you're not overspending. You get $1,200 a house for miscellaneous lumber. Don't go over it. This is how much you've spent in the past. And so you get like all these bits and pieces, and then eventually, all of a sudden, you have points in your career where like it's like, holy shit. 4 of those things I've been taught all of a sudden
Gotcha.
kind of mesh together.
Yeah.
And now I understand that I can't spend too much money because there's only $1,200, and that affects our bottom line and
Love it.
Yada yada yada. Like, do you guys relate to that? Like points where like
Definitely.
shit just snaps and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's funny because when you're a CM, you're like, I need this stuff, so I'm buying it. I can't build the job because those idiots in the office don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Then when you're in the office, you're like, those idiots in the field don't know how to cut lumber. so here's what I do. Here's what I do. I'm like, I hope none of my guys are listening. I'm like, I
definitely
trust
are.
you. I trust your judgment. And I leave it at that.
And they're
And
like,
then
oh,
they're like,
God.
crap, I better figure out how it
Yeah,
works because
exactly.
Jake's going to come out here and tell me how to
Right.
cut this wood.
But what you're talking about is just good management, dude. That's just holding people accountable for what you're talking about and like just trying to make sure that they understand that what decisions they make, they're spending all the company's money.
Yeah.
Even if they're just calling up the sub or the trade partner and scheduling that work and saying, it's time for you to be here. I expect you to be done in 3 or 4 days. This is how much I'm going to pay you. Like, all of those things are a factor, and they get to decide it, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and you know, if you're asking, like, you know, I guess it's what you knew now that you didn't know then. But you know, I feel like the best thing that we can do now for the guys that are in our shoes 20 years ago is be those good leaders and explain to them why, you know, if you get a hack of 2x4s, you know, and you know why they shouldn't throw 3 footboards in the dumpster, what it can be used for, blocking, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Just things like that, because it's easy to blow through a budget. It's easy to blow through a budget. We've all done it, and you know, I'm super fortunate because my guys are amazing.
This is good that it's freezing and outside. Go ahead.
Do you think?
In the position that I am now, I can kind of help the guys that work for me now, thinking, oh, when I was in your position, I wish I knew that information. So I have the ability now to kind of share with them, to guide them and give them some of those answers that they didn't have.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Part 2 is coming out very soon, probably within the next day or two, maybe a week. As always, check out our sponsors. You know, truework.com, they just produce fantastic gear. It's all technical. You can layer it. You're gonna once you start wearing their gear, you will not want anything else. You just won't want to compromise. I'm telling you, Jason and I wear their stuff all the time. Their jackets, their pants, their shorts, their shirts, everything. It's awesome gear. You can get a discount, CMP15, when you go to truework.com on your first order, 15% discount. Christmas is coming. Do yourself a favor and buy yourself some. You're gonna love it. Isotunes, protect your ears. Guys, I make jokes all the time. It's funny I do a podcast because I can't hear. I'm half deaf from never protecting my ears as I've gone through, 20 years in construction. Do yourself a favor. Get some Isotunes. Protect your hearing. You can still talk on the phone. You can still listen to music. They're Bluetooth enabled. Do yourself a favor. Protect your hearing now so you're not listening to your TV at 50 when you're 50. All right, check out BuilderTexas.com. Greatest website ever. Lots of information on there. Also download the manual. Great information on there. That's actually going to be updated here shortly. And then there'll be another book uploaded probably in the next couple of weeks or so. Thanks, guys. Bye.